Everybody. I see some interesting people in the room. Not everyone from the panel has found the route yet to this room, but some from the audience have. So I would like, Faye, could you help people to that are able to talk, and so we can have an open discussion?
Yes, promote to panelist or only allowed to talk?
Panelists, so we can see the video also. Okay, so first of all, for the participants in this meeting, we realized that the previous meeting, especially the start, was a bit bumpy. But I think it is an interesting topic, the topic organic in Africa. That's why we extended that session with a more informal session at this point, and specifically as Profound, but we also invite the other panel members, David Amudavi, Fortunate, and Samia and Barbara, and the others from IFROM, to join this discussion. And during this session, we just want to have an more like an informal chat and exchange. So feel free to enter the mic. And we would like to hear from you, your suggestions on how to build the Organic Africa market. And also if you have any examples or initiatives that are very concrete, specifically related to market development, market build-up, and like trade fair and the trade promotion activities. So the floor is open. Maybe you can give a brief introduction and speak up. Anyone?
I can go.
Yes, Hannes, I saw you connected through LinkedIn. I'm also curious to learn who are you?
Yeah.
Can you explain?
Hello, I'm Hannes. I'm calling in from Uganda on my cell phone, so I won't put my camera.
Okay.
I'm from Belgium, and I'm working currently on a food smart city program, which is basically to make a more healthy and sustainable food system in several cities in Uganda and Tanzania. I really liked the linkage with food safety. I'm, as a consumer, very concerned at this moment of the fruits and vegetables I'm eating, yep. And food safety would be an important. Oh, I hear some music. Food safety would be an important topic in our approach as well. So I think that would be key, including organic or putting organic center stage in food safety programs, but also in general in local food strategies and food system programs.
Yeah.
That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, and what do you see in Uganda? Is food safety is also a concern there? We were also working in Kenya, and this is indeed one of our entry points to address food safety. And this is also what we mean with use that as building blocks also to further develop the organic market, both locally as internationally.
Good morning. Yeah, I agree. This is a big concern. We did some sampling in Arusha in Tanzania, and also in Mbale and Kampala in Uganda, and we found huge health hazards, both in terms of excessive pesticide use, often even up to the day of harvesting itself, because it's common belief that this extends shelf life of, for instance, tomatoes, spraying 3 to 7 times allowed dosage, but also contamination with leads coming from irrigation water, and also human and animal defecations. So there's quite some health risks related to that, and I think organic would be a good step forward to be promoted in those programs.
And are you actually working on organic and offering it to local market outlets?
It's within the scope of the project, yeah. At least in Tanzania, we're now also working together with Tanzania Organic Agriculture Movement and going to establish some PGS systems as well. But there's a wider scope, let's say, on food safety as a whole.
Yeah, no, it's true. Anyone else from the audience?
Don't worry. My final suggestion would be to work at the city level. There's a lot of going on with local food strategies on the city level, and I think there's a nice bridge to be made with the organic movement.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I've also seen initiatives of local organic markets, and especially at urban level, it's a useful entry point. So in the meantime, also other people joined in. Very happy to have you on here. Just to explain this session, it's a more formal follow-up session of the conference session at the BioFach level. As Profound, we host the Organic Africa Pavilion. And here we really would like to hear from you, like what are your suggestions on how to build the African markets, and do you have examples of initiatives, especially related to market build-up and trade fairs, that you like to share with us and with the audience here?
Maybe Geertje, from my side, I see that Sebastian Hisch from Natuurland is also here. Maybe to invite him also share some of their experience.
Yes, so
Sebastian, are you
please
there?
go ahead. You can. We're all panelists now, so everyone
Yes.
can talk and raise its hand and etc.
Do you guys hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you for the presentation. In fact, yes, we from Natuurland are very active in Africa. We are, me personally, I am working as the Africa coordinator in Natuurland, so we are currently building our strategy, for example. But we're also facing the same problems that have been mentioned already. And from an economist side, I must say that market development is a very big thing. It's a national issue basically in every country. And as a small organization or an NGO, I don't believe that there's a lot that can be done. However, I like what Hannes, for example, just said, that you have to work on a scope, on a bigger scope, like for example in the cities. And our experience is that people need more awareness creation. Me personally, I was born, raised, and lived in Africa most of my life. And it's I can just mirror what Hannes said, that when you buy stuff from the local markets and the supermarkets, you never know what you actually get. Although it is grown in the field and you think it must be organic by now, it is polluted with all kinds of fertilizers and pesticides and whatnot. But people aren't aware of this yet. So we are mainly focusing on awareness creation, on educating people, on educating our farmers that we work with and the communities that they live in, and try to build this sense of healthy food, a healthy living, healthy environment. And with this knowledge transfer, we create the demand for organic food. But this, I believe in order to have a big impact, this must be integrated in, for example, the education system in the countries where you raise the children already with this idea of healthy food. And it, I mean, organic, yes, is a way, but I would go further and say it doesn't even have to be 100% organic, but just making people aware of what's happening. And raising critical minds for the future that demand to know what's in their food and hopefully demand organic. Thank you.
Thank you, Sebastian. Indeed, it's a very useful linkage to link it to education system. And awareness raising was also one of the points, consumer awareness. For example, we were also thinking of collaborating with retail sector that wants to enlarge its organic portfolio. But also having like cooking shows and creating awareness on this healthy food, but also healthy production systems like agroforestry, etc. I see a hand raised by, I don't know if I pronounce your name, but it's Emenekar René. Please go ahead, unmute yourself.
Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is René Meneker. I'm working actually in Senegal, West Africa, on market development, mainly on local market development. But the experience I'd like to share with you comes much more from Burkina Faso, where I have been contributing to create and build up a PGS initiative, and therefore also the local market. And I have a few learnings out of that. And one is maybe a link to this MSD approach, so the systemic market development approach, where you put the value chain actors really in the first line. I have observed during my career that very often NGOs and NGO projects with the idea to develop market are putting themselves in place of actors or substitute them in some different places on the value chain. And what we have learned in Burkina Faso is when you give the complete responsibility to
we lost you.
Develop their own market to the much more sustainable. But what we have seen that once they have engaged and took over this, okay, it's ourselves responsible for consumer interaction, and this, it was it was very successful. So there is for organic food in Ouaga.
Sometimes the line drops.
Okay. Well, then.
Marcus, you seem to be knowing what.
I just conclude this support in a. Yeah. It's too unstable then, yeah.
You can also type in the chat, and maybe Marcus can briefly summarize, because apparently you have been working together.
Okay, then I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, thank you, René, for your contribution. And I sense that part of your message is like, be clear about the roles in the value chain, and don't, for example, as an NGO or a project, don't step in that value chain. You're only temporary support. Anyone else that likes to contribute and share initiatives or insights, how to build the African market of organic? Marianne from CoLSP, please go ahead.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Indeed, this is Marianne calling in from Belgium. I personally work in Uganda, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Malawi. And I don't know if everyone knows CoLSP, but we are a professional organization, private sector organization promoting trade between, and also regional trade between Africa, because I'll talk now about Africa, but actually also the Caribbean region and the Pacific region, and the EU. So our members are private sector actors in all parts of the value chain, let's say. So yeah, I wanted to contribute by indeed telling that we're also, as CoLSP, seeing the value of this organic trend and markets, and we really want to support this. So what we are doing now is advocacy for the interests of farmers and of our members, but also training and technical assistance. So we have various trainings on the principles of organic farming, but also we have projects specifically in countries, for example, with Fortunate Nyakanda that talked in the previous session. We are now currently working on a value chain development project in Zimbabwe for promoting and giving access to markets for Zimbabwean pineapples. And there we bring together all actors of the value chain, and we are not substituting anyone in there. We have farmers, we have the cooperative itself of the farmers, we have the importer that will take the products to the Netherlands mainly. But we also took aboard this Zimbabwean Association of Exporters, which is called Simtrade. So a very interesting project. This is just an example because we are trying to support in many different ways. And it's this African Pavilion. Also trade fairs, we really see we need to expose and create a platform for African farmers. So yeah, we are sponsoring this pavilion as well, and we hope that this fair is of interest to you.
Thank you, Marianne. Rajan, you want to say something? No.
Yes, there is also, let me see, Stephanie Spade from GIZ. Have you had a chance to read the report? Because GIZ was one of our collaborators in the report. And any ideas you'd like to share from your experience?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Actually, I'm just listening in here. The intern of the of the Alliance for Product Quality in Africa. So I'm just taking some notes here and pass them on to my mentors and colleagues. So I don't have much to share yet, but it's
what is the prime takeaway that you take from our explanations?
So far that collaboration and awareness creation is very important.
Mm-hmm. Marcus, you're raising your hand.
Yeah, thank you very much. Actually, I just wanted to respond to the question which came in the chat also, where somebody, I think, hopefully, I hope I pronounced that rightly, asked about the experience from Tunisia, Morocco. And I think this is a very fair question because Tunisia and Morocco are indeed quite outstanding countries if you see the development of trade in Africa. And I like also to combine these two countries because it shows one thing, that there's no blueprint, because both countries are very near. They're both North Africa. They're both close to European markets. They have actually maybe similar nature, Mediterranean areas. They're touristic and a lot of things in common. But if you look at the organic market and what works, it's totally different. So these are two countries which are really different. And now I see just now Samia Mamer coming in from Tunisia, and Samia will actually share herself about the Tunisian example. I just wanted to emphasize maybe here, well, diversity, and that case, that no case is like the other. That's one important message. And the other one is actually you can be successful in various ways. Now, while Tunisia has a very much a lead from the government, so it's very much the government actually took action like no other country in the world, I could say. Even Denmark, which we often quote, actually has not such a leadership like Tunisia has in terms of government. However, Morocco is just the total opposite. In Morocco, actually, there is also a government engagement. Yes, they recognize now, after they see the successes of the sector, they recognize more and more what is happening there, and that it has potential with the Green Plan 2030. But beginning actually was an organic movement, and the organic movement organizing itself in a sector organization and the classic way of organic umbrella, with the downside also of having heavy processes with a lot of democracy and a lot of discussion. So this is happening in Morocco, and Morocco is much more like small businesses, many people, very entrepreneurial, going to the market and making a lot of trade. While Tunisia is actually from the strong, I would say, political conducive environment that is actually their success story. But maybe Samia, you just entered it right now when I started talking. The question was actually, can we share a success story? How did it work? And Tunisia was actually the question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Marcus. If I can say some words from Tunisia, Organic Tunisia, we began now since the government take place is, we can say, 24 years. And we work hard to have our own regulation since 1999, and we go through that, and we work to have the recognition of our regulations from European countries and Commission and from Switzerland. So we get it in 2009 for the European countries Commission, and 2011 from Switzerland. And we can say that we are the unique African country who get this recognition for the rules. We work also on subsidies and how to push the farmers and the operators to go to organic. And when we began, it was only 16,000 hectares certified, and we passed through 400,000 hectares certified. For the market also, we were 20 years ago about 2 million euros of market, and we passed through 250 million euros for the market. The main thing that I have to say that the organization and the regulations, the system of control put it in Tunisia were the main keys that we did. And probably the technical level, we get a technical center for organic since 20 years now, help us to develop this organic sector. There is many to say, many to say, and what Tunisia done is now important because because of the recognition of the out of Tunisia. We can say whatever we want when we are a country, but the recognition comes from the internal market for our products and goods. We are nowadays the first organic land for olive trees in the world. So it is very important that to say we are the first for olive oil or organic olive oil in the world. And we had also the first position for Africa with our area, organic area certified. And we have also the first position for the export organic products export for Africa. So we couldn't say that we are the leader for Africa, but we could be, Tunisia could be one of the most important country for organic in Africa, in Arabic countries. We have many things to exchange together, and because we are very believe in the Tunisian organic model by 2030 and its adaptation to all African and Arabic countries, we have started expert mission to develop South cooperation in organic agriculture, and we did it with Seychelles, with Algeria, with Madagascar, with many countries. So we try to have and to give more for African countries, and we could be for us we could be the link between Europe and Africa. We are very close to Europe, but we are in Africa, and we are very close to the reality of African organic African area. So,
Samia, if I may ask, the proximity to Europe and the clear adoption of, say, organic or European standard, has that helped also the promotion of organic in Tunisia?
For sure. For sure. This is what I said. It is the credibility of our products who we get this credibility with this recognition. So it is very important.
And do you think that for some of the other countries that we've seen also in the analysis that do not have clear rules or established, even when we talk about participatory guarantee systems, that to have this clear, David called that benchmarking, is important for the sector?
I think that we have this opportunity to go on the international standard even for our local market. We haven't to have two ways. We have to be on the international regulations, even if we if we produce for our own market, to get to win time and to have more visibility in the international market. And I try to say that even David say continental standard. Yes, I was a member of the international task force for the harmonization of organic agriculture regulation, ITF, with FAO, UNCTAD, and IFWAM since 2005, and we try to have the rules how to develop regional regulation and standard for organic. Yes, why not? But Africa is very big, so we can work on 2 or 3 standards for Africa with an harmonized regions. So it could be, yes, a very strong way to develop this to develop organic in Africa.
Yeah, thank you, Samia. I think this is a very valid point, but also I would like to add another maybe critical point, which is maybe also exemplary for Africa. This is that you focus a lot on raw products. Huh? I mean, you rightly mentioned you're number 1 in olive oil, but unfortunately, most of this olive oil is also used for as bulk, you know, in order to mix it with other olive oils. And I think you're doing now great efforts, and I think this is also quite important to make more added value on the volume that you're selling. You know, you have excellent oil, and now this excellent oil is actually sometimes used not as it's supposed to be used, because it's below the value. Yeah? And there, I think sometimes it's not only about quantity but also about the value. And I think that accounts for many African countries that is still too much focused on raw products, but not on the, and the quality actually is better than what the value you get for.
Yeah.
I see a hand of David Amudafi.
Yeah, sorry. Just I have to add something. Yes, for all African products, we have to look to the quality and to the added value in our countries. It is very important because well, even if it isn't very important for countries who are very close to the internal market, but for those who are very far and fresh raw material couldn't go to the internal market. So it is very important to invest in partenariat between north and south with to go to the added value, not only for olive oil, for many other products. And we are looking for that, and we are trying to go to that to let know all the other countries about our products, which are not usual in this market, as Japan, as US, as even EU. So the added value is very important, and the processing material are very, very important for us to get this good value. As in Tunisia, for cactus pearly oil, it is very important to go to process and not to go to the raw material. Thank you.
Thank you, Samia. Over to David. Or Damu Davi.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Sorry, I missed you and went over the whole process to get to the room, and it was saying the session is over, conduct profound, and I was like, what? So thank you for sending us
we waited for
link.
You.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment on the what Samia has just said about the need to focus on 2 or 3 key standards for the continent, given its diversity and so on. I would want to say this is an interesting discussion. We will be having actually a meeting next week with the African Organization for Standardization. We wanted to engage with them a bit more as a preparatory phase. If we were to have a continental standard for organic agriculture, or as we call it, ecological organic agriculture, what should be the processes and steps that we have to go through this? What are the financial implications? And then who should be behind this? So I think part of this discussion, once we do have, I'll be very happy to share some insights with the team that is behind this study. And I fully want to say, yes, it is an important insight from your end, Samia, which we will be very happy to look at. I'm not sure.
Can I add one additional comment to what you're saying, David? Because there's 2 questions from the audience. One is from Hannes, how to invite youth to the system, because they seem to be less interested or in the organic agriculture sector. There's a question from Renee on leadership.
How to? Sorry, I didn't miss. How to do what?
How to get leadership and how to get youth into this organic business. And from our experience, as we have discussed a lot, is how do we engage youth in setting up innovative business models for organic agriculture and giving them the right motivations, like digital tools, because we talked a lot about, in particular when you talk about climate change, there's a lot of opportunities for youth to get engaged in organic agriculture with new means, new tools. Maybe share a bit on that.
Yeah, thank you very much for this. On the first question, how to get leadership that can be effective, not just any leadership, but I want to underscore effective leadership. I think this is one area that we are working on through our initiative, and that's why we would like to engage more with the people from the private sector and engage a bit more with some development partners and some donors if possible. And then look at how do we strengthen our secretariats, which should be actually the best placed institutions to support these processes. And looking at the continental secretariat, and then we look at the regional ones, which should be also linked to the regional economic communities. One thing we cannot underestimate is the power of the regional communities, because with peer-to-peer learning, that was a question that was raised earlier. It might be a question of what lessons do we learn from different regions, because there is more intra-regional related activities than one would consider at a continental level. So there are certainly lessons that from Africa within its 7 regional economic communities that we can actually pull out what lessons to learn. So the leadership should be able to come out of this configuration of the different players we would like to see come on board. Now, how to get the youth more into the organic sector, it is a very important question. But for me, I frame it in the other way around. You know, what would be the entry points to get the youth into the organic sector? A few things come to my mind. One, we need to leverage on the power of the social media. I think a lot of youth tend to have an affiliation with social media. And if we can actually have cases, and more so will let us underline, what are the good cases, successful cases of organic agriculture that we can share through the social media pathways. I think this will be a very important area to leverage on. And on the basis of that also, we can look at the e-platforms for doing trade. This is where actually youth can come in terms of supporting development of such platforms. And you begin to engage with them at that level. So I feel it is really very critical that we do this. The third point is we also have to demonstrate the economic sense of the organic sector. You see, youth also want to be in a place where they feel there is money. Yeah, they can make money. In fact, if you ask me, I would say a lot of youth in most countries, and especially in Africa, would look at agriculture in general as not the profession to enter into. Why? They think it is not very well paid. But if we can show, just as we know that most of the African economies are driven by investments in the agricultural sector, the youth can begin to appreciate the economic power that the agriculture sector in general and organic agriculture in particular can offer. So can we demonstrate that? Are there successful cases we can really distill and bring to make them concrete? And we share this also among youth. And then the last point is encouraging youth summits. The youth summits where youth can actually exchange on what is happening in different countries in terms of youth engagement within the organic sector. That will be a very powerful way of peer-to-peer learning among the youth, and I believe this would be quite motivational. Of course, finally, I would say several of the initiatives that we are coming up with should have a strong component of youth involvement. Unfortunately, we design programs, we design projects, but we indicate how we would like to get the youth on board, but we do not become very proactive in the design to show where the youth should fit. And I think this lack of fitness of youth into the programs and projects we come up with works against us. So can we walk the talk and we see how do we have provision for youth's participation and engagement in the design of our projects and programs?
Correct.
That's what I would suggest for now.
I fully subscribe to that last remark that you're making. In the designing of things, we have to change a number of things, that we cannot work with traditional projects and programs. It should be more like a real public-private initiative where the entrepreneurs and the youth are jointly engaging in what we call these laboratory settings where we do creative building of new business. And I think that's something to look forward to. Geert was asking if there's entrepreneurs. Denise Felicite, are you an entrepreneur?
No, good morning, everybody. I'm Denis Felicite Zuma from COLECP. Yeah, do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm in charge of business development. We are co-exhibitor on the Profound Organic African Pavilion at BioFach. And I would like to react. Sorry for that, but I couldn't be on the first session this morning. But I have from my colleague. There is a presentation or a slide mentioning that COLECP doesn't have any organic strategy. I suppose for Africa. I think my colleagues Marianne Ringens mentioned a bit earlier that COLECP in different programs that we have, the EU-funded programs, we support the horticultural sectors, industries in all the ACP countries, Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific. And we are of course responding to the needs of the different actors and operators in the different African countries according to what the markets, it could be European markets, but also locally or regionally market is requesting. And of course, we concerning the organic, we are supporting them for instance, to help them to get their certification. But also, we are following very closely the evolution of the EU regulations. And yesterday we were talking about the problematic of the pineapple, for instance, for using the substance in French, I have the carbure de calcium. And we are following that very closely. But also we are there to really promote organic trade in the different countries, locally, but also and by helping, of course, and by supporting the companies on their developments. And this is a part of our I would say whole activities that we have for not only organic but also conventional. But organic, we are also involved, and we are following the trend, and we are boosting and try to encourage entrepreneurs and young entrepreneurs who would like to be involved in by giving them some advices, and also supporting them for finding markets or be in touch with new buyers, for instance, and also helping them to trade in a good conditions their products by respecting the rules in terms of standards, in terms of phytosanitary regulations, and so on. You see, this is I would say the COLECP is a part of his strategy, but it's a global strategy, you see, and organic we are looking at very carefully, and we are finishing. I mean, we're starting a study on in Africa, because one of the key issue, and this is what is just said, the key issue is how to develop the regional market and the continental market as well. I mean, for the African operate entrepreneurs, I mean, there is a big opportunities also to develop the markets in the continents. But of course, there are a lot of obstacle constraints, and COLECP is working also to make sure that those constraints will be reduced somewhere, and we help by having this contacts with the national authorities also to encourage this exchange between the countries.
Now, I think the work of COLECP, it's actually bridging this area of food safety, market development, and bringing it back to production. So it's really a good example. But I didn't understand, Dennis, you mentioned that during the presentation we mentioned
there is there is a graphic showing that that COLECP doesn't have a strategy on an organic strategy.
I don't recognize, so maybe we pick this up separately, because then you can explain it to me. But I
no,
don't.
It was just to mention that.
Yeah. No, let's. I would like to know, but let's do it separately.
And just to reiterate, I mean, the fact that you are in our Organic Africa Pavilion this year shows that you're doing organic. So, and we are very happy to start with this new collaboration with COLECP this year to do more in organic.
Of course. Thank you.
Samia, you raise your hand.
Yeah, just for youth in organic agriculture sector. For our experience in Tunisia, it must be said that the image of the organic farmer is very interesting for young people today. Very interesting, because they do the difference between a classic or normal farm and them. They are the organic ecosystem offers a lot of rewarding work in the control, in the scientific support, in the sales methods, and the fact of selling high-end safety products pushed young people more and more into organic. So I think that we have to work on that way, just to let know about the image of the person who are working in organic. And I think
can I give you one example that what we are doing in Kenya now, trying to link producers with markets in a different way, moving from business to business, B2B, through retail directly to consumers, B to consumer, B2C, with innovative tools like also David was mentioning, digital tools, platforms, home deliveries, delivery straight to restaurants. Yeah. This is an incredibly interesting opportunity for you to be engaged.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, yeah, it is really, and even with COVID-19, we get more and more young who are working on e-market in Tunisia. It is very, very new for us, but there is many young who are doing that. And it is really an opportunity for our producers, organic producer, because they are linked now directly to the consumer with these methods. And I think that it will be the future even for the local market in Tunisia.
Yeah, Renee is adding here, Renee Amenegger, to use young opinion leaders that successfully launched their organic business. You care to explain a bit more, Renee?
Yeah, his connection is not so.
Ah, okay.
Maybe in the chat. There's also a question in the chat. Is there anyone from South Africa to share their organic fruit export experience? Is there someone from South Africa in the room? No?
Maybe not from South Africa. The one closest is maybe Fortunate. Or? You have to unmute yourself, Fortunate.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'm not from South Africa. I'm from Zimbabwe. Organic export on fruits. We are working, there's a project that we're working with Collier CP. I'm glad Collier CP is also part of this discussion on organic pineapple production and for export. And of course, it is still in the stages where it is beginning to take shape. And we are actually at the moment working on the ICS before the certification for export. So we are just beginning, and we are hoping with Collier CP coming into the country with some projects for 5 years from now going forward, I'm sure we are going to boost this sector. But otherwise, for the moment, as far as organic fruit and vegetable fruits are concerned, we are still like in the preliminary stages.
Okay, thank you for your contribution, Fortunate.
Is there anyone else from the audience that still wants to contribute to the discussion? I still have many questions, but somebody that we have not heard yet.
Let me make another couple of points, if you don't mind. Yes, on the question of how to build the African market, and particularly with a greater focus on the organic sector. I think the question of the market segmentation and in terms of the state of the product, whether we should be encouraging more of processed or unprocessed products, I think this is a very important discussion we need to have. Would wish to see more of the products in processed form or raw form? If we have to encourage more of the intra-African intra-African trade. But of course, we are also hoping that when we improve the intra-African trade, we are also improving our global market trade as well. So for me, the question of the value addition, the processing, and maybe this is also one important issue that will need to be discussed at the level of the African Free Continental Trade Area. To what extent should we have the organic sector go through the various levels of value addition? Because maybe some of the markets we might want for certain products, especially for the global markets, the best would be to have them in processed form. And if we do that, then we'll have to look at what are the requirements that we need within the continent to get the products to the processed form and meeting the standards as per the standards that are given. So the question of the level of the produce in terms of value addition will be an important issue to look at. Then the other point I wanted to contribute to, again, on the issue of the youth engagement, is really we start looking at seriously on youth mentorship programs, especially in the entrepreneur sector of the organics. If we do that, then we can strengthen the application of the social media applications and so on. So having more of the strong entrepreneurship programs for the youth, for me, I feel might be a very motivating entry point to get more youth on board. And this is something that we would like to see how we can incorporate into the design of our continental programs, so that we have a deliberate effort through such kind of programs to get the youth on board. Those are the 2 points I wanted to contribute further.
Marianne, you want to react to that?
Indeed, thank you so much. Yes, I really I want to react on the processing of organic goods, because indeed I've seen in several projects that it can be or is very beneficial to process in the country itself. So and for sure in countries that are landlocked or where the logistical options are limited for fresh production. So for example, Uganda, drying fruits, but also herbs, or processing them into paste or whatever. We've seen that this gives a lot of opportunities, and okay, it also involves more requirements with regards food safety, not always, but okay, it can introduce other requirements. But yeah, it's really a pathway to be considered, and which is interesting, because yeah, one of the main reasons is also that it increases shelf life, and it gives you a lot more flexibility for marketing your products.
And it goes beyond, Marianne, because like in Kenya now, there's a producer that has started with making puree from what's that, orange fleshed sweet potato. When you highlight also the nutritional and health benefits of so many of the products that are there in Africa, and articulate that also in, let's say, Geertje mentioned it before, doing live cooking shows on healthy products from Africa, indigenous vegetables, and all of these produce that can be value added through processing and keeping shelf life. That's an enormous and tremendous market opportunity. And we are only scratching the surface at the moment.
Exactly. So I really want to encourage entrepreneurs to start developing these processing steps. And again, CP is there to help you to also build your food safety management systems in terms of processing. So this is also a certification in this area. We often support entrepreneurs to achieve that.
David, what do you think? You're getting many new ideas on?
Yes, many new ideas coming up, and yeah, I'm taking note of them, and I'm sure we shall build on a bit more together with you and others, yeah?
I suggest we take 2 or 3 more questions or comments, and then we work towards closing this session. I see a raised hand by Dennis and a raised hand by Marcus. Dennis, could you briefly take time
yes.
to...
Yes, thank you, Gergie. Sorry for later. I didn't put my video. Thank you, Mr. Damudavi. I fully agree 100%. We should really support the young entrepreneurs and COLECP itself. I mean, we are very keen to do that. Of course, we help all the entrepreneurs, but young entrepreneurs is very important. And this is what you said, to attract them. The business should be also lucrative somewhere. They should have money. I mean, have the feedback of their efforts they could have. One question is, no, not one question. The strategy could be also, and this is what we want to do, is to have this champions strategy. I mean, it's sort of reference. They could be a sort of locomotive to attract other entrepreneurs. And COLECP developed with PAFO this year a series of webinar called Innovation Series, and we invite there people who could exchange their experience, as we are doing right now. You see, exchange the experience through the webinar, and we invite and we try to also identify champions there, and just to show that it is possible. And second point, this is something that you raised last year about having a trade fair, a regional trade fair or continental trade fair on organic aspects or organic products in Africa. This is something maybe you could have. Do you have any information about that? How, I know that with the crisis is more difficult, but I think this is something that should be developed to have more trade fairs, organic trade fairs on the continent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe this is a question from you. So from my side, what I'm aware of is that from South Africa, there are 2 initiatives, and one will have an area at the coming up intra-African trade fair in Uganda in September. And there will be a separate section for organic and natural. So it's not, so it's broader than the 100% organic certified section, but it is in a way related. Then I know from Samia that Tunisia is trying to get a regional BioFach in, I guess you mentioned 2024. And maybe David, you can explain from East Africa any initiatives that are happening there. But I also invite COLECP, Yvonne, others, David, Samia, like interested parties to maybe plan a separate session and discuss how we can bring a trade fair, an organic trade fair in Africa forward, a regional one or a continental one, an online one or a physical one, etc.
Yeah, I can make a quick reaction. Thank you very much for those last 2 comments. I fully agree with you that Africa needs to be motivated, and the motivation can come from some of its own member states, some of its partners from one country to another. And this is something that I would say, when we were thinking about having a BioFach Africa, which we are not using that concept for now, it is partly what led to this very important study, whose results we've just shared, and whose results will also inform some of the next steps that we'd like to take to look at how do we boost organic trade in Africa. And for sure, the question of what form of events, in terms of trade fairs, in terms of exhibitions, what form, what size should we take? I think the study that Profound, IFARM and Organics Development have done has really brought out this quite well. And I would want to suggest that some of us would want to mine it even more and look at what are the practical implications. Yes, we would really want to ensure that we have one big continental trade fair at some point. Maybe if we have, that's why I talked earlier about an action plan. If we say 5 to 10 years from now, or say talk of 10 years from now, we should be able to have a regular trade fair for the whole continent. But then before we get there, we need to have some lessons generated over time in terms of on a lower scale. And this is why I personally would prefer looking at national events and then cascading a little bit to regional events, because this is again very much in line with the regional blocks. And if we do that, then we can generate more cases regionally. And this is how we can have the regional peer-to-peer learning. And eventually we end up having at some point continental trade fair. So yes, and this is something that the actors that are at the moment involved would want to look at this question: how do we promote organic trade fairs, exhibitions, for example, food exhibitions on either an annual basis or at some regular sequences at country level. And then we also encourage the regional level. And the good news is some of the initiatives that we are having provide opportunities for that. For example, if you look at the Knowledge Hubs program that has come up, which is supported very well with JRZ, and
David,
based on the five...
David, please look at the time. It's almost 10 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
And we have one other hand raised.
Okay, sorry.
Maybe,
I just wanted to say...
maybe a very quick reaction to David. Let's continue that talk also together with Corlia CP for the trade fair activity in East Africa with Samia in Tunisia. And we are having a similar talk next for this year, coming year, for Rwanda and even South Africa, also trade fair activity. So let's continue that dialogue.
We will. Thank you very much. I think the point is understood, and I was just giving an example of opportunities for this. Thank you. Yeah.
Marcus, any concluding points from your side?
Yeah, right, actually. Thank you very much for the floor here.
You can wrap it up and...
Yeah, well, maybe I'll wrap it up from my side. You will still have the last word, Gertje. Just what I wanted to, so the last point, I just wanted to tell you that the BioFach World actually also has this discussion. And they had actually two events which I participated in the last 2 days. And the first event I raised it myself, but in the second event, even some other person actually asked for, what about Africa? Because they bring now events in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, new ideas are coming up. But what about Africa? This is really raised there. And they are a bit, I would say, conservative. So they don't see the business case yet. So what we need to actually demonstrate is really to say, yes, Africa's ready. Africa trade happens and there is a critical mass coming up. I think they are totally convinced that it's a good idea, but not yet convinced that it's the right moment. So I think we should work towards that. And BioFach itself, so in that sense, I mean, you can't do BioFach without BioFach. So this is quite important that they are on board. So there is also awareness creation on that level necessary. And I think the study contributed a lot, but also the study did not yet fully cover their concerns. So that's like there's still some concerns.
Yeah, to relate to that and also to come to closure of the session, I think we should...
One more point afterwards.
Okay, then you go first.
Okay, just one point which I wanted to make in general, actually. We're talking here about boosting trade in Africa. And I think we have never stated that boosting trade happens. So everything that we do right now, for example, is African Pavilion, these forums, this discussion, these studies, all these efforts that people take, they are effective. So I just looked at the figures which we have in our study, which are based on the previous year's figure. And now, because yesterday there were also these publications of the recent figure, and it's about 9.5% growth. So 9.5% growth, this is actually is very good. I mean, if you have this every year, and you really double it in no time. And that's one thing which we realized while studying it. Whenever we got to old data, they were actually outdated very soon. So it is very dynamic, and we have countries coming onto the scene. For example, Togo. We haven't talked about Togo a couple of years ago a lot, and now Togo is one of the leading countries. So very dynamic. Burkina, for example, has actually a long history, but never really developed very dynamically. And all of a sudden, it may be the role model for local market development. So
I think Samia also wants to comment still.
Yeah. Who's
Yeah,
think
but
great
really,
that
10
happens,
seconds, I want
just
to...
this positive message we should not forget.
Samia, one
Yeah.
small minute for you, and then
one small minute. Thank you very much. I invite all African countries to support Tunisia for Organic World Congress of IFWAM 2024. Please, and we are open to have your suggestion, to be with us and to support us. So I'll put my email address, and anyone who has the opportunity to come with us and to be with us, that our program, we have an African organic fair for Africa in Tunisia, if we succeed to have this World Congress in Tunisia. It could be one of the initiatives that can help us to go to BioFach Africa. Why not? So I'll put just my email. Thank you.
Thank you for your call, Samia. We will share it. And this is indeed the way forward. Marcus, you mentioned there is growth already. It's not that there's nothing happening in Africa. Also, David, you mentioned many actions, Kolia CP. You also mentioned different action and activities, opportunities. So let's take these opportunities, let's bring them further in smaller steps, in smaller initiatives. And by that, we're also showing to BioFach, yes, we're ready for this. And the willingness is there. Thank you all. Thank you all also for the audience and the participants. Thank you for your comments in the box. We look forward to continue working with you, with any of you. And I wish you a good day further.